This is where it ties into the babadook. Trying to explain absurdist humour is deranged. Hello, beautifuls. Welcome back to my Chanel. And welcome to this one-off special, it might become a series, I don't know, of a guide to Luxeria, cutaways and references. So fully ripping off a Novimpia treat. More about them later. Today's video is going to be a guide to the references, the cutaways, the memes, the little splices that I use within editing to punchline a joke.
God, how awful!
Add more context to something.
I completely forgot about bees.
Or just, in some cases, to be utterly unhinged.
Claire.
That's not a table, that's a chemise. And hopefully get a giggle out of you, the audience. Sometimes I actually make myself absolutely howl with laughter whilst editing as well. So, you know, there's perks to the job, isn't there?
Tuberculosis.
Recently, I put out a story over on Instagram in which I asked you to suggest to me which ones of my cutaways you would like further information on, further understanding, and maybe just how they came about to be used. So, my lovelies, without any further ado, make sure you're sitting down comfortably. I don't have a beverage today. Oh, I know, brave, isn't it? Pop your little hanger right up the giggle hole and let's dive right into some Luxeria cutaway references, shall we? First of all, I would like to show you the folder. The folder in which all of my references are kept. Spoiler alert, I edit every single thing that you see on this Chanel myself. So this is currently my folder. It is called Memes for Videos and it currently stands at 1,070 items. And every time that I edit a video, I will add in something that's been in my head perhaps that week, or through Instagram Reels might serve me something particularly unhinged that I'm like, you know what, great pop culture reference, let's go. I would hazard a guess and say that it generally grows by about 5 or 10 a week, depending on how spicy I am in the editing room. So in the last few videos, I've asked you to tell me in the comments which ones are your favorites, which ones you want more explanation about, and maybe any more information that I can divulge. Now, sometimes there is no explanation, and I'm going to have to point out to you during the edit of today's video that there is no explanation for these. They just exist.
God, how awful!
I am someone with ADHD, and when I sit down to film my videos, I just let it go. I let it run, I let my brain just whatever comes out happens. And that's a little bit of behind the magic for you. I can't go over every single one of those 1,070 items, but I'm going to go over the most requested. And if they are not in this video for some reason, leave them in the comments below, and I may in fact put them in a volume 2. So starting with an absolute bang, I think we should do this one. This is called the pink dog toy meme, and that isn't actually the original video. The original video goes something like this. But it makes like a really satisfying blah, blah, blah kind of sound. And because it looks so cute and silly, I often use it to punctuate a cute and silly moment that is somehow enraging, because the explosion. Now, the original of this is about 6 years old, but I'm pretty sure that I came across this years ago. I feel like maybe it's a Vine, I'm not sure. During my research, I have discovered that this toy is in fact called a Jabber Ball, and you can buy them still. They're like still available for purchase. They're not like a 90s lost artifact. Now, the reason why I love stuff like this is because my humor is absurdity. I find the absurd, the utterly absurd, to be so funny that I will lose my mind about it. My aesthetic, much like my sense of humor, is based around the idea of absurd, bonkers scientist with a love for beauty. And I feel like my editing style kind of reflects that. Very proud of the way that I edit. I feel like it gives joy to the world. In this darkest of times. I have to try not to give away too many industry secrets in this video. Absurd. The idea that you can just bang accurately represents my mental state when we are watching some particularly deranged reality TV shows. Next up, we have one of my absolute favorites.
Hiya!
Taxi for mummy.
Taxi for Mummy. This is by a dominatrix over on Instagram called Vanessa Vixen. And she does these kind of like skitty videos, which I'm sure if the algorithm wanted to would find issue with them, shall we say. I love the absurdity, as I just said, the absurdity of a vixenous woman in a latex skin-tight dress waiting for a taxi and going, taxi for mummy. What a perfect moment for mummy time. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit later about mummy time because it's, again, that crossover between absurdity and reality and like, mummy do it. Anytime someone references mum or mummy or mothers or somehow getting in a taxi in any of these reality TV shows, you'll see me use
Taxi for mummy.
it's just such a great little punctuation of utter nonsense. Again, part of the aesthetic. Next up, we have this one.
Can I get a plate of mother's with a side of sleigh to go? I already ate.
I was a bit nervous first using this one because you can quite clearly hear the word that he says.
My mother walks into a bar. She says, "Can I get served?" The server says, "No, you just ate." She pulls out a gun and says, "Serve me or get slayed, you F-flirt." He's dead! Jail for my mother!
But when this came across my Instagram reel page, when I was just doom scrolling one day, I was like, this whole conversation is utterly riveting and so poignant about like the current LGBT experience with how language evolves, especially within our little community. During my videos, you'll see me say utterly unhinged, out-of-pocket things that then become like a repeated vocal stimulation that just happens constantly throughout time and space. One of my recent ones that I've particularly enjoyed screaming was, "Where there's blame, there's a woman on the game." I'd say make myself giggle. This really speaks to me because when I hear really common phrases said within our community or within content that features our community, especially things from ballroom such as "boots the house down," "mama work for your nerves," those sorts of things, they get into my head and they become almost deformed. I'm gonna use that word, because no longer does my brain go, "Oh, boots the house down, mama work for your nerves." It goes, "Clogs the bungalow up, sis." Why? I don't know. But nonsensical language and the absurdity that follows is, again, it's my lifeblood. It keeps me thriving. And it keeps the dark clouds at bay. This particular reel is by Gay Virgin Official and Dylan Adler. Gay Virgin Official is a comedian and singer-songwriter. And Dylan Adler is also a comedian featured at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I swear, sometimes magic just happens when you put a couple of gays in front of a camera and let them go. And I cannot stop screaming at very, very inopportune moments.
Jail for my mother!
Taking it down a peg from utter nonsense, we're now going to have this. This is one of the older references that I use on my Chanel, one of the older cutaways. And it basically just fits wherever someone says something so out of pocket that you're like, what is happening? I want to say that I first started using this during the bridalplasty run here on the Chanel. So that's about 5 years ago. Between 4 and 5 years ago. Sadly, there is not a brilliant, beautiful, long-winded discovery story behind this. I just needed to find something that was cute and kind of conveyed how the moment can be. This is actually a GIF, simply called Otter Shock GIF. And the gasp you can hear is, in fact, me. Just going, Again, just a really useful thing to convey shock at the absurdity. Taking a turn for the worse, it's time that we hear this.
Babies, baby weenies, baby weenies, baby weenies, baby weenies, oh.
This came across my Instagram reel feed years ago, and I was utterly besotted at the first moment that I spied this, because what is that?
Babies, baby weenies.
Apparently, it is a cannoli, like anthropomorphized, is that the word? Animorphs? No. Anthropomorphized. I don't know that word. It's a thing that resembles sort of a human. And being British, of course, beans are one of those staples of the British diet that I can't. They really creep me out. Baked beans, like tomato sauce beans, beanie weenies, absolutely not. Can't deal with it. This is created by the Instagram artist called Creamy Cannoli, and their vibe is very much making vaguely horrifying, kind of gross things resemble human faces, sort of a little bit babyish, sort of a little bit nightmarish, of just utter absurdity and complete nonsense. Again, complete nonsense and utter absurdity. There's a theme in this video. A lot of the references I use are a reference to the pop culture at the time. time. Now, pop culture can be mainstream, underground, or also just something that we're collectively experiencing. And quite often, I feel like there's magic that happens in these algorithms when you are served a piece of content that is just so weird that so many people have watched. And this aspect of pop culture might only be this big, but I would still classify it as a pop culture reference. So, beanie weenies. Okay, right. Are you ready for quite possibly one of the most requested, like, WTFs that's ever been on my channel? It is this one.
Unexpected item in backing. Please take your change.
My goodness me, does this have a story behind it, my lovelies? Picture this, Lidl 2021. You're using the self-checkout machine. Now, sadly, she has moved on to different supermarkets. I don't believe that they actually exist in, this animation actually exists anymore in Lidl. I think it's only in Co-op now. This woman, the absolute fashion icon that you can see on the screen here, with her stripy piano, 1990s highlights, a pair of jeans, and a beautiful black blazer, is the reason why this meme exists. We were watching Bridalplasty, and one of the post-operative nurses came in with this exact hairstyle, and I simply had to use this song.
Club card accepted. Unexpected item in backing. Please take your change.
This is by Ben Sufdonk, and it's called Checkout Rhythm. It was uploaded to YouTube 7 years ago. Now, I really wanted to pair an iconic Tesco song to that little checkout woman who's now moved on to Co-op. And I simply could not believe when I discovered this song. I was like, you know what? I have to sample this. This is insane. And people have noticed in the comments, because the comments on this video are literally just, who's here after Luxeria Bridalplasty? There is, however, no rhyme or reason as to why there are cats all over the screen. All I can put it down to is the internet loves cats, and there was a lot of cat content I could use. But I must say, it is with great regret to know that she's moved from Lidl to Co-op. You go, girl! Okay, so the next one gets me absolutely every single time. It's just so perfect for when you hear something so obscene that you're like, do you know what? Let's end it all, shall we? Stop it now. Stop the show.
I can't wait to die. Honestly, I cannot wait to die.
Now, as far as I know, this is satirical. It is a skit. Simply, also, I can't imagine someone doing this in a serious way, but you know what? There are those people out there that might do. You never know these days. This is a book review of the book titled Light in the Morning, and morning is spelt as if someone has died. Hence the theme, I simply cannot wait to die. Ironically, this was also uploaded 7 years ago. Maybe I should listen to that person and use more recent references. But pop culture is pop culture. A meme is a meme, and it will take you back to the first time you saw it.
Hi, I'm Annie, and I'd like to talk to you about how light in the morning has affected my life. I used to think about death all the time. I'd wake up, dead. I'd go to lunch, dead. I go to sleep at night, wonder if I'm gonna die. Dead, gonna die. Now, I'm not afraid of death at all. In fact, I can't wait to die.
It's just so perfect. This video is filled with just such beautiful sound bites that you could use for a multitude of things. Dead, I cannot wait to die. In the morning, dead. Go to sleep, dead. I have quite a dry and dark sense of humour in a harmless way rather than a harmful way. I would suggest, anyway. The concept of our own mortality does make me giggle sometimes. And it also brings some comic relief to some of the rather intense scenes that sometimes we see here on the Chanel, the Swan being one of them. Now, Anne Rashid is actually a tutor of real estate, so she teaches people how to become real estate agents in North Carolina, and she's been doing that for 20 years, and I can imagine that this meme must follow her to her work. But still, it's one of those moments that I just think is so perfect when you hear someone say something so out of pocket and you're just like, do you know what? I can't wait to die.
Honestly, I cannot wait to die.
Okay, so I think we need to talk about the cupcake remixes.
Me and the dildo.
I have so many. That sounded a bit like that woman who's like, I have the one and only 24 karat gold cancelled. I absolutely love a Cupcake remix. Cupcake is an iconic rapstress who sings about rather adult, explicit happenings, and that's what she's most known for. There is an Instagram page called Ranvision Remixes, and they make all of the brain rot, Cupcake, short form remixes that you will see just across so many different types of reels. Now, I use this in multiple different ways, actually. I love it for the absurdity, again. And I also love to use them as Instagram story audio because they're one of those things that when you hear, you want to repeat it. And it's kind of like a really easy way to get repeat engagement on stories. One that I have used a lot of, which I actually think is kind of controversial if you know the story behind it. And it does give me pause for thought of like, should I really be using this? Is my dark humor allowed to do this? Or is this a little bit insensitive, perhaps? It's this one. The woman in the wheelchair featured in that cutaway is Sue Austin, and this is the original video. Now, Sue Austin herself is a wheelchair user. Now, this video is a performance art piece for the 2012 Paralympics. She's a UK-based performance artist, and this wheelchair is just an NHS standard wheelchair. And when Sue Austin first got it, it gave her a huge sense of freedom. And she wanted to show how that freedom made her feel to people that perhaps see a wheelchair and think, oh, that's bad, quote unquote bad. Actually, a wheelchair in reality provides a huge level of freedom to people who really need them. Sometimes absurdity is humorous, and then sometimes that same absurdity is so shocking, it can almost behave as like a spotlight onto an aspect of culture or society that a lot of people take for granted. And performance art is about enlightening the public. And in this case, a piece to make us understand different realities. This modified wheelchair gliding underwater is a ballet piece highlighting, in a very absurd way, that while able-bodied people kind of see a wheelchair and think bad, awful, oh no, how sad, oh very bad, it actually grants Sue Austin specifically a huge sense of freedom. And what better way to show that than the sense of freedom gliding through the water, seeing all of these beautiful fish and these corals. In a way, absurdly showing that perhaps this wheelchair isn't needed underwater, but most able-bodied people will never need a wheelchair in their life. It's an art piece that perhaps shifts your perspective on what freedom is and how these mobility aids are viewed by people who need them. Of course, the internet does its thing. Under the Sea became a Cupcake remix, and it is now played at twice speed over this video, solidifying its place as a meme. But while it is humorous, funny, absurd, it does actually have a very powerful story behind it. And while I'm not sure you would necessarily get that from the meme, after all, it's Cupcake going gok, 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 gok. When I first saw that meme, I was like, what is this? How has this happened? And if we can't use meme humor to educate, then what is it good for? Let's be honest. Is it a positive or is it a negative? I'll leave it to you. Death! Death! This is a pristine cutaway that I will use when someone again has said something entirely out of pocket or is behaving in a way that is just entirely unnecessary. Death! This is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Guardian Screaming Death. If you have played this game, you will know that early on when you encounter a guardian, they will absolutely one-shot you instantly. Death! No, run away. Oh. I believe I first used it when me and Rolly were reacting to Pete Burns' PA, which sadly tanked in views after like episode 5, and it just couldn't continue because I couldn't put this much time and effort into something that was effectively working for free. Pete Burns used to have an absolute death stare, and I was playing through Breath of the Wild on Twitch at that time. And that's where I made the comparison that the death stare is kind of like a guardian shooting a laser, instant death. Death! Now this cutaway has evolved throughout my time on YouTube. I've used it with the Friends theme tune.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
To really convey a sense of utter absurdity when someone really says something out of pocket. And similar to the I can't wait to die meme, I also teamed it up with a Charlotte Tilbury advert because she would always start with, darlings, have you tried?
Darlings, have you tried?
Death! Naturally, death came out of that. And I did in fact colour correct the laser to be pink there, because Charlotte Tilbury is very known for her pillow talk, which is all very like pink velvet. Lots of crushed pink velvet walls, velvet curtains, just crushed pink velvet. I cannot explain it any further than that. Half the time, these memes and cutaways just come to me like a lightning rod of inspiration. And I'm kind of lucky in that way in terms of editing, because I will remember this absolute absurd thing that I can use as a reference to really drive home a point that I'm making in a video. And it's one of the reasons why I don't think I ever could have like a co-editor or an editor for my videos, because how would you know as an editor to be like, oh my god, she said something obscene, quick, go and get Charlotte Tilbury selling pillow talk, but combine it with a Guardian from The Legend of Zelda, A Breath of the Wild, shooting a laser, make it pink though, to drive home the point that you can't wait to try death. How would you know that? And that's one of those things where you can't necessarily teach a lens in which you see the world. That's just how I see the world. I will make these ridiculous references and let them evolve over time. There's one later on that I simply must talk about, which is, ooh, spicy woman. And I bet you can't wait for that one, my loves. And I think as a viewer, it can kind of be a bit disorienting to join a watch party of something that we're watching and see these references that have come so far from where they started. And unfortunately, I don't know what else to say except you need to binge the content to get it. On the theme of death, next up we have
Lady Gaga.
Die.
Oh, Lady Gaga, die. This is an abomination amalgamation of a 2011 interview by Nicola Roberts of Girls Aloud fame, where she was interviewing Lady Gaga and giving absolutely nothing for MTV.
This is a quick fire round where you have to answer, obviously, very quickly.
I believe she asked her a question that went something like this.
Alicia from the Netherlands, if you could do something dangerous just for once with no risk, what would you do?
Die.
This is from Robert in Northern Ireland.
Watching that again, Nicola just gives nothing, absolutely nothing in return. She's not, sadly, I do not think being an interviewer was her calling at this time, 2011, when Lady Gaga was doing her Born This Way tour. If you could try anything dangerous, just once, what would it be? Die. The perfect soundbite that can be spliced into multiple different other cutaways, and it works really well when people aren't expecting it. You just ask a normal question. What would you like me to do for you tomorrow at dinner? Die. Perfect. Just a perfect cutaway. And Olivia Colman in 2019 was nominated for Best Actress for the film The Favourite, and she won. Guess what other film was nominated and which other actress was nominated at that Oscars?
And the Oscar goes to?
It was Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born. Olivia Colman won, shocking everyone, and I think that judging by the way that Lady Gaga reacted...
Olivia Colman. Olivia Colman.
She maybe thought she was going to win for Best Actress. And then, bizarrely, Olivia Colman sort of thanked her in her speech.
Ooh, it's genuinely quite stressful. Okay. Glenn Close, you've been my idol for so long. Lady Gaga.
Olivia Colman is very clearly quite flustered and did not expect to win, and she very sweetly just goes, "Oh, Lady Gaga!" which is very sweet and an instant iconic moment. And I don't know how I came up with the idea of splicing them together, but I did, and it just creates magic for when someone is literally like, "Oh, Lady Gaga, die!" I've actually just watched her win that Oscar again, and I forgot about the other cutaway that I could very much use from this, and it's genuinely quite stressful. This one, well... Put you in my oven! My goodness me, how do I even start to explain the absolute trip that Adventure Time is? This character is called Lemon Grab, and he stars in the show Adventure Time. This is one of my comfort shows that I first watched when I was going through a really dark time in around 2014, 2015 time. The episodes are really short. They're about 10 minutes long, and they have some quite adult themes through it, despite it being a predominantly kind of like young teen audience. It's definitely got overtones of which parents watching with their children would understand. I have a bunch of cutaways that I use regularly from Adventure Time, and to be fair, I feel like I might do a rewatch soon because I'm sure there's some other absolute gold gems in there. Gold gems? Ugh. The ones that I particularly enjoy at the moment are this one. Perfect for when I have a bit of a brain fart when I'm trying to say something and I'm like, what is happening? What's happening? And also when someone is being utterly unhinged in a reality TV show, how perfect is it just to be, put you in my oven? The fact that he says it with such, like, fervent urgency. I also have this one.
Why would you say that?
Why would you say that? By Raspberry Princess. The character of Lemongrab screams, put you in my oven, in, I believe it's the episode titled You Made Me. And it's one of the earlier episodes that we see Lemongrab in. Now, spoiler alert, Adventure Time is based in a post-apocalyptic world where nothing is quite as it seems and everything is kind of made from an element, and candy, like sweet sugary treaty candy, is an element within this universe. On the land of Ooh, Princess Bubblegum, a kind of almost elemental godly figure in a way, creates candy people to live in her candy kingdom, and she makes Lemongrab, and he, as his name might suggest, is so sour and bitter and doesn't really understand why he is the way he is. In a sort of weird parallel, it's almost kind of like how Lucifer fell from heaven for wanting something different and going against his creator. Lemongrab was eventually expelled from the kingdom. Very weird, similar kind of thing going on there. His storyline gets really dark as the episodes progress, but it is one of the most fascinating characters that I've seen within, like, animated history. It feels so absurd that it is correct, and he says the most out-of-pocket things that are just so great as a little soundbite. And this other one that I use quite often in the start of my videos to introduce something that I know that you guys have been waiting eagerly for, and it's the Ice King saying yes. Yes!
Yes! Yes!
The Ice King is another cursed character from Adventure Time who started life as a human, but as the end of the world happened, he needed to borrow powers to stay alive, and that is through the Ice Crown. And unfortunately, during that process, loses who he is and becomes an absolute tyrant of the Adventure Time world, although does have some redeeming and sweet moments later in the series, more towards the end of everything. He also said something that I was in the darkest time of my life for a long time in 2015. I wasn't in a good place, just wasn't in a good place. I was watching an episode and he just says this.
I've soiled my tunic!
I don't know why. It tickled my funny bone and I could not stop howling with laughter. So now anytime that something kind of surprises me or makes me a little bit, I will just use it. I've soiled my tunic. Next up, we have one of my favourite things I think I've ever said in my YouTube career.
I've got a bucket of piss, sweetie.
Now, this is going through the annals of time. This is a collaboration video that I did on my channel with Rolly of infamous Spicy Woman. We'll get to that later. In a video titled Tapeworms for Weight Loss, Disgusting Old Beauty Routines, there was an ancient hack about camel pee and how it was meant to make the hair beautiful and curly and shiny and lovely and not at all grim and perhaps a bit smelly. And for some reason I just say,
oh, Barbara, your hair's looking really grey.
Yes.
Where's all the useful glow?
It's not what you need.
I've got a bucket of piss, sweetie. Like, you must have just hated your neighbours.
Now, piss is one of my favourite words to scream. It's not technically an explicit swear word here on YouTube. So when I first started making this kind of content my full-time job, I got a couple of flagged content warnings on my channel for excessive swearing, even though I'm not really an excessive swearer in real life, but I would use the F word occasionally. YouTube didn't like this, so I retrained my brain to say piss or shout piss instead. And I feel like it's just a great way of expressing a huge disappointment, shock reaction to something, oh, piss, without technically saying something too crass or too Explicit. Now, I've Got a Bucket of Piss, Sweetie has taken on a role of its own. Sometimes I like to use it as just an absurd interjection of just like, oh, what's that she's holding? Or my other recent one is using Mylene Class in the Littlewoods adverts, because she sort of turns away from this fashion moment of just like,
I've got a bucket of piss, sweetie.
it's just ideal for when someone is trying to sell something or someone is trying to get someone to buy something. It's just like, you've got a bucket of piss, sweetie. Tapeworms for weight loss was a video posted to my channel 4 years ago, and the meme is still very much alive now. God, I can't believe I used to make videos that were 12 minutes long. Wild. Now we move on to one of my favourite words of the English language. No. There are so many variations that I have of references and cutaways of people saying no.
No.
This time, I'm going to focus on a specifically heartwarming reality TV star, Louis Spence.
No.
Now, Louis Spence is a famous dance teacher / choreographer from the TV show, the reality TV show that aired in the UK, I believe in 2010, 2009, I want to say. I think it's 2010, called Pineapple Dance Studios. It only had 1 season of 15 episodes, but Louis' character won over everyone in the UK. At first, people thought he was kind of grating and a bit much, but actually, highly relatable content for me. Every single sentence he said was like a cutaway, put a penny in, listen to the jukebox.
I've done it now. It's too bleeding late. What are they gonna do? Gonna shoot me? I doubt it. They have to catch me first. I'm like a whippet.
Everything that man said in that show was just so perfect for a cutaway. In fact, I'm going to have to do a rewatch of that again, because I'm sure I'm missing some other absolute diamonds that he comes out with. What are they going to do? They're going to shoot me? I doubt it. They'll have to catch me first. I'm like a whippet. Louis Spence is on the rooftop of the Pineapple Dance Studios in London. There is a helicopter flying around, a police helicopter flying around, and he does this bit where he's convinced he's going to be arrested. They're going to catch him. He's the perpetrator.
This is lovely, isn't it? Actually, I think this is health and safety. If you're running from a fire. Trip. No, I'm not allowed. I know I'm not allowed.
But moments later, a mysterious noise brings the whippet out of his kennel.
And this is kind of like a talking head interview moment where the interviewer asks Louis a question and he just goes, no, and then carries on. And what a perfect little cutaway to just give that moment of like, am I thinking about this? Like, is this a good idea? Like, should people do this? Is what they're saying reasonable? No, it writes itself. The comedy writes itself. So Louis Spence shot to fame from his appearance as Campin' Over the Top on this show, Pineapple Dance Studios. But now he actually does a lot of renovation and restoration work on his Tudor cottage on Instagram. And he also has some viral reels, which have created excellent cutaway moments as well.
Blah-de, 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 blah. De blah-de, blah-de, blah. De blah-de, blah-de, blah. Yes, nice. Blah. Blah-de, blah.
Okay, I think it's time we start with the British references, of which there is no rhyme or reason as to why I'm featuring the British references now, but I'm sure they will be all over the place anyway. Novimpia.
Welcome to the Novimpia channel.
The UK's most successful drag couple duo, on YouTube anyway, might need to fact check that, have been creating digital nonsense for a very long time. Now, if you've been watching me for any length of time, the likeliness is in your recommended or in your other people have watched videos like this list, they will have videos there. They do things like toy reviews, they do faves and shitters, they do fashion content occasionally.
I love sitting down, don't you? Shut up. I'm just gonna go and pop a crumpet in the toaster.
But obviously, most well known for parodies.
Aren't you clever? Thank you, it's been brilliant.
Bon Marché sex clown.
So Rowley and I, and just you wait, Rowley's special section's coming in a bit. Rowley and I became friends with Novimpia in, I want to say it was 2021. I think it was kind of mid-2021 that we started talking to each other online and we had like a little group chat. And then we first met them and we got very drunk. This was before I stopped drinking. I'm sure there's a memory or two there that might be a bit naughty now, naughty. I think they happened to be in London and we thought, why don't we all go for dinner at the Alchemist, and then ended up having 48,000 cocktails at the Village in Soho afterwards. Fun fact, Olympia created a group chat and the first photo she sent was this.
Bon Marché sex clown.
And the rest, as they say, is history. And as sensible, lovely women do, we have banter. And the stuff that they will come out with in their videos is just top tier sound bites.
She pegs him, I'm sorry.
A little bit of treason.
What is this? Listen, we've done... You're like insufferable today.
And the banter is perfect for a quick joke. So if something's naff, some sort of craft thing has turned out a bit naff and they're like, oh, who made this?
Welcome to the No Pimpia Channel.
And if I've come to a sudden realisation about something hateful that I've said that's not true, then...
Oh, well, isn't there egg on my tits?
Now, the infamous saying, oh, well, isn't there egg on my tits, comes from their second P.O. Box haul ever in 2019. Maybe I really should update this list.
They gave us other people's mail.
Yeah.
I could have just...
great.
I'm pretty sure one of them as well had, like, money in it.
Yeah, not great.
And I don't know what the deal is with that. That was just horrendous. And that stupid sweaty bitch. God, she was sweaty.
Oh, wow.
Isn't there egg on my tits?
Right.
There are so many other Novimpia cutaways, which I'm sure that you would love for me to go through. If you do, potentially there could be a volume 2 of this video. Leave them in the comments below. Now, I'm going to put out a PSA here because I am so convinced that I'm not hallucinating when this happened. I am sure there is a video out there of Olympia turning to Nova and saying, turn my pussy all the way out. Yet I simply cannot find any reference to this actually existing. And it could very well have been a hallucination. But I don't think it is. I will spend the rest of my career trying to find this cutaway because how perfect. Turn my pussy all the way out. Both the Novimpia Cult Discord and my Patreons cannot find any reference to this being real. But I just know it in my heart. I know that it is real. I know it. Okay. So are you ready for a Roly reference? My most favourite one of which at the moment is this.
Oh, she's a spicy woman. Oh, my breasts.
First of all, I want to give you a very abridged version of our friendship. So we first started hanging out and making content in around 2018. We'd known each other online beforehand, but time was right and we ended up meeting at Pride in August of 2018. I believe it was London Pride. The London Pride? Yes. We have done literally a bit of everything across our channels as collaborations or videos or streams. We've done beauty reaction stuff, we've done hate comments, and we also have a podcast together called Gag of the Millennial, which is where this is from. So they took her alcohol away from her and she came over to us and was like, I'm never shopping in BHS again! Otherwise disgusting save! I can't believe all this! You've mugged me, girls! And it was a bit like, it was my like 4th day or something. I was just literally like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you, Luxeria.
Obviously, with me not being in the UK anymore, it's kind of difficult for us to do our podcast. It's not technically on her hiatus, but I guess it kind of is for a little while. There are so many absolutely nonsensical moments that we have shared, that Roly does in videos, that I do in videos. I'm sure that me and Roly have something very similar with our sense of humour in the way that our brains are a bit broken. I have ADHD and I very much have echolalia within that. It means I will hear something, see something, say something. Oh, like the tube. One of these times that the echolalia has been so strong, particularly in Roly with this, is Teletubbies. I cannot tell you why the Teletubbies is such a thing that both Roly and I quote like there is no tomorrow, but it comes up quite frequently. Not only is it just, you know, Teletubbies, we switch all the vowels, all the meanings, all of the songs into complete and utter chaos. It sounds nothing like the original, but, Teletubbies.
Oh.
Yeah, Tig. But there is one specific moment that was often said in Teletubbies, and I think it was said at the very, very end of every episode. Very mummy telling you don't do something naughty. Are you going to do that? No. 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 Weirdly, a lot of like mumminess is present within my videos and within my sense of humour, like being mummy, like, oh, mummy do it. Mummy said no. I don't know why. Yeah. Now, this leads on to a shared sense of hysteria and hallucination, because one of my favourite memes to use at the moment is a weird crossover between so many different things that I'm going to need you to lock in for this. Okay, so let's get really meta here. A long time ago, I used to be a Twitch streamer, and I was a Twitch streamer for a long time because it kept me sane during the COVID lockdowns. For some reason, during my streams, I would say, oh, she's a spicy woman. And to me, to call someone a woman is to say, like, that is the best example of the most beautiful thing I can think of. It's a spicy woman on the game. Hello, my love, spicy woman. I have arrived. Hello. Spicy, she's a spicy woman. This is something that Roly and I have parroted at each other for years. Oh, she's a spicy woman. Oh, she's a woman. Who's that? A woman. At one point, this shared piece of delirium has entered into our language, our shared collective language, so much that we say it all the time about things. So we have a ranking system on YouTube for how well a video is doing. And if it is doing the best out of a group, you say, oh, a woman. And Roly starts every single one of his streams with, oh, she's a spicy woman. And for some reason in this one, he followed that with, oh, my breasts.
Oh, she's a spicy woman. Oh, my breasts.
When I tell you, my lovelies, when I saw this recently, I was looking for it. I was like, I'm sure Roly said my breasts somewhere. I can put that in a video, I'm sure. When I found that Roly had sang this very peculiarly beautiful song, I was like, this is a moment. I think it's actually on in one of his unlisted videos, so I'm sorry, Roly, I've snatched that for the world to see. It's just such a beautifully absurdist piece of comedy to insert where it does not belong. And this is a meme as well that has developed over time beyond its original meaning, if there even was an original meaning, some might say. This is where it ties into the babadook. Trying to explain absurdist humour is deranged. Okay, so The Babadook is a horror film. I think it's a horror thriller from a few years ago about this poor woman and her child who's being haunted by this demonic presence after her husband suddenly dies. Everyone's doing desperately awful in this film, and it's kind of like a metaphor for depression as well. Now, the poor main actress lady, she's expecting a phone call from her, I believe it's her sister Claire, and she picks up the phone and goes, oh, Claire.
Claire.
And my brain works in this way. I think, what would you least want to happen and would be horribly dark sense of cruel humour from the universe if you were a woman on the edge, you pick up your phone hoping for Claire, only to hear,
Claire.
Oh, she's a spicy woman. Oh, my breasts.
Oh, she's a spicy woman. Oh, my breasts. You would immediately slam that phone down with panic, right? Now, this amalgam of reference to the Babadook and Roly has developed into other things. For example, I recently yelled something like, that's not even a table, it's a chemise. And I thought, perfect. Into the Babadook she goes.
Claire.
That's not a table, it's a chemise.
Claire.
I've got a bucket of piss, sweetie.
Claire.
Big titty lady videos on the internet.
I also, years upon years ago, collaborated Daytime Tweed with an Evening Chiffon and the Babadook into this.
Claire.
Daytime Tweed, Evening Chiffon.
Now, the Daytime Tweed Evening Chiffon is probably one of the most infamous cutaways on my Chanel, but I've been filming for an hour and 45 minutes, so I think I'll have to save that one for the next video. Come back, girly wigs. But can I just say, it is these utter moments of nonsense that bring me so much joy. And in a sense, it's kind of like a collaborative joke between our little friendship group. I shout, piss, piss. Roly says, spicy woman.
She is a spicy woman.
Olympia says, egg on my tits.
Oh, wow. Isn't there egg on my tits?
And Nova calls us all insufferable.
You're insufferable today.
Very important to have friends in your industry, isn't it? Right. Well, my lovelies, this video is going to be so so obscenely long. I'm not even halfway through the list of like 30 that I picked that I thought I would be able to go through in a sensible amount of time. Turns out, references have a lot more meaning to them than just, oh, this is what it is, this is where it's from. And with that, my loves, it's time for the Patreons. You can see yourself scrolling past on the screen right here. Yes, you can. Over on the Patreon, we have exclusive access to The Traitors UK up to Season 1, Episode 4. I've got a couple of episodes of Project Runway. I've got a lost episode of Botched, and also doing a rerun of There's Something About Miriam. If I have not covered any reference that you would love to hear the origin story around, or even just hear a little bit more about my creative process about how on earth that came to be a cutaway reference, what it's a reference to, who knows? Leave them in the comments box below, because I would like to do a part 2 of this. If this video thrives, I think it's time, right? And as always, I want to say a massive thank you to my top tier Patreons.
My goodness. Okay, here we go. Orcos Samoji, Jojo, A Literal Pipefish, AJ Padilla, Anthony Michael Hernandez, Ashley Lisa, Auntie Stash Hazelwood, Barry Chapman, Becky Johnson, Bex Max 3000, Bish and Bubs Quartz, Breakaway 87, Caffeinated Raptor, Callie Rose, Cammy Bryan, Cancerfish 66, Castellina, Kaz, Serafe, Shell Herman, ContraPoints, Danny, Dr. Lula, EBBB, Eli Sowers, James Azen Girl, Jennifer Herman, Jenny Talia, Lauren Kylie, Lauren, Leanne Jones, Lenore Les Banana, Little Sizuries, Love Potion, Malfunctioning NPC, Mandy Martin Rule, Marzipan, Minumoto, Miranda Bryant, Mo Sherman, Morgan Lathay, Ms. Kiss, OKS Kyle, Radhika Madala, Rupreet, Sarah Maria Samail, Sarah Hook, Shan Rowe, Sean Pelkey, Sky Dorim, Slayer 304937, Steph Utech, TNS Mum, Taylor Roller, The Jessica Hightower, Todd Bowley, Tony Mackers, Windy Potato, and Wizgadoogadoo.
And you know what, my loves? I think I'm going to leave it on the note of life is all about giggling, so just giggle your tits off.